Hey there, so I just wanted to go through a couple of examples before you take your IA, just to kind of get your head in the right place and refresh your memory on some math concepts before you jump right in to take your test. So a couple things. The first example we're going to look at says, what is the reason for the last step in the argument? So if you look here, it tells us to solve for x, and we are given our original equation, 5x plus 10 equals 15. Okay, now you have to remember to ask yourselves, okay, well, how would I get to the next step? So if I was doing this, I see I have this plus 10 that's crowding x's space, so I would need to get rid of it. And since it's a plus 10, we would subtract 10 from both sides to move it away. And you can see here that they have subtraction as the reason for how they got to the next step, which makes sense because we subtracted that 10 first. So when they simplify, they ended up with 5x, and then on this side, 15 minus 10 gave us 5. Now in the last step, again, I'm trying to get x by itself, so all I need to do is divide by that 5 on both sides, and whatever you did there, so since I divided, that is going to be my reason. So my answer would be division. And that's it. That would be the multiple choice answer that you select. Division. All right, so next question, example 2. This is a review on graphing, and I'm going to show this in two ways because I think it kind of gives us a good overview of more than one type of problem this way. So it says that Stanley was asked to graph 3x plus 6y equals 18 by using slope and y-intercept. His graph is shown. We have the equation given to us. It's in standard form. We want to state the slope and the y-intercept for the graph that was drawn. Whenever a problem asks me for the slope or the y-intercept, my brain instantly says, oh, maybe I should use slope-intercept form, okay? Whoops, and I just realized that I had a typo there that says foam. That should say form. Let's see, there we go. Form, okay, now that I can spell correctly. Okay, and that's y equals mx plus b, where m is my slope and b is my y-intercept. So here's slope, y-intercept, that's m and b. So if you need a little m, b. All right, so from the beginning here, when I take this equation, if I solve this for y, if I get y by itself, it's going to put that equation in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to take my original equation, 3x plus 6y equals 18, and I'm trying to get y by itself. So I'm going to first get rid of this 3x, and I can do that by subtracting 3x from both sides. So I do that here, and when I do that, I'm left with 6y, because my 3x is canceled, equals negative 3x plus 18. And notice I put the x term first because that stays in the same form as my slope-intercept form. Now I have 6 times y. To undo multiplication, we divide. So I divide everything by 6. My 6's here cancel. And then I have negative 3 over 6. That turns into negative 1/2. And then 18 over 6 is 3. So this is my simplified equation. I've taken my equation from standard form into slope-intercept form. Okay? All right. So now that I have that information, I can pull out my slope and my y-intercept. So my slope is the m, that's the number in front of the x, and in this case it's negative 1/2. Okay, so there's my slope. And my y-intercept is my b, that's the number all by itself, the constant, and that's going to be my 3 in this equation. So my y-intercept is 3. So that is one way that you can find the slope and y-intercept. You can take standard form, solve for y, turn it into slope-intercept form, and you can get your slope and y-intercept out of that. Okay, another way is by taking the graph that they give you and literally going and finding your y-intercept and your slope. Okay, I start with my y-intercept. Here's my graph. This is my y-axis, and my line goes through the graph right here. And when I count, I go up 1, 2, 3. So my b, or my y-intercept, is 3. Okay, then if I go to find my slope, I can take my little line tool here and count. So my rise over run, remember that slope? So my rise here, I went down 3. So I went down, I'm going to use a -3 to indicate that I went down. And I'm going to the right or in the positive direction. If we count those spaces, we're going over +6. Okay, so slope is rise over run. And in this case, we went down 3 and over 6, and that would simplify to -1/2. Notice how using the graph, my answers match the answers that we got from my equation. So either of those methods will work. And it's a good review on analyzing the graph and rearranging your equation for a certain form. Okay. Next example, I'm actually going to skip that one. We are going to look here at solving. So we have -1/4 x is less than 7. This should be pretty easy to solve. We just want to get x by itself. Remember when we have a fraction, to get rid of a fraction, instead of dividing, we take the reciprocal or we flip it. Okay, so since it was a -1/4, we flip it to a -4/1. We're just flipping our numbers. We keep the negative sign, we're multiplying by a negative. So when I do that to one side, I have to do it to the other. And when I multiply or divide by a negative, the thing they're really testing you here is to remember that you have to flip your inequality sign. So since that was a less than, this is going to turn into a greater than. So x is going to be greater than -28. That would be my answer. Okay, last but not least, going through a word problem here where we have to write a sentence in an equation or as an equation. If I start here, it says the product of a number -11 and 8 equals 40 decreased by 6. Write an equation to represent the sentence. All right, so to start here, product, that key word there, that tells me that I'm going to be multiplying, okay? So I'm going to put my multiplication symbol there to tell me I'm going to be multiplying. And I'm multiplying a number -11, so n -11 and 8. So these are my two terms that I'm multiplying. I'm multiplying n -11 by 8. So when I write that out, if I write it in the order it was given to me, it would look like this. Okay? N -11 times 8. Now, a lot of times we like to look at it with the 8 out front, so you could also write it like this with that coefficient out front. Makes a little bit more sense to us, because then we would know to distribute. Notice this doesn't say to solve, I'm just writing an equation. Then it says that it equals, so there's my equals sign. That's my equation part. All right, so if I go back here, this is going to be equals, and then it's 40 decreased, that would be less than or minus 6. So 40 minus 6. And if I were to simplify that, 40 minus 6 would be 36. So this is my equation as I read it, and this is it simplified just a little bit to look a little prettier. 8 times n minus 11 equals 36. You don't have to solve, you're just writing the equation. So hopefully these examples kind of help get your brain situated and ready to go for your IA today. Good luck, and let me know if you have any questions.